Good morning. It is so good to see all of you here this morning. You couldn't have picked a better Sunday to be right here in our church, and so happy that you're all here celebrating all that God does for us. I do want to look into the camera as we do every Sunday and just welcome you that are worshiping with us virtually. We love having you part of our virtual family and encourage you that as if you're ever visiting in the Jacksonville area, make it a point to come and worship with us because we'd love to have you here in person and get to know all of you. And as I do every single Sunday, because there's new people here every single Sunday, I just do want to encourage all of you, if you happen to be new, as you're exiting our church this morning, you're going to meet our welcoming team. They're going to be right as you're exiting the front door. Please, please, please introduce yourselves to them. Tell them about who you are, and I'd love to have the opportunity to get to know all of you who are new. So again, thank you so much for all of you for being here. So let's get started. Last Sunday, I began a brand new sermon series entitled Uncommon Love. And today I want to continue this conversation with, I believe, one of the most important things that we all need to remember is that in every single relationship, there is conflict. Wouldn't it be great if every time you told your children what they needed to do, they said, yes, absolutely, I'll go do it right now. Or whatever you would tell your wife, I need you to do it this way. In that case, it never works in my family, but wouldn't it be great if that was the case? Or wouldn't it be great if you were telling a friend or a sibling about something that you needed and everything always worked out, that the relationship was going on full cylinders going forward? That would be great. It's just not reality. And what you need to know is that one of the greatest tools the enemy will do for us is create conflict. Picture this for a moment. I kind of think of this, that the enemy, as the Bible calls him, has a bulletin board in his office. And at the top of that bulletin board is his mission statement. It's his strategic plan. And at the very top of that bulletin board it says, divide and conquer. And right under that bulletin board, right under that mission statement, is your name, is all of your relationships. And for many of us, when we go through life, yelling at our spouse, giving someone the silent treatment, playing games, allowing ourselves to get angry and yell, and worse yet, even curse, what we need to know is that we're simply allowing on the bulletin board the enemy to say, we did it. And I want to give you just 4 areas, or 3 areas actually, that I hope you will all see how we all fulfill the dreams of the enemy. Here's number 1. One of the greatest dreams that he loves is when we have poor communication. So in that communication, it looks a little bit like this. We yell, we criticize each other, we belittle each other. Sometimes even that communication is not communicating, but it's still communication. St. Basil the Great says, the most common sin, listen to this everyone, is what comes out of our mouth. The most common sin is what comes out of our mouth. So if poor communication is one of those areas that we kind of fulfill the dreams of the enemy, here's number 2, and that is unmet needs. What I mean by that is that oftentimes we place expectations on our spouse or on our friends or on a relationship. I didn't get invited to that wedding that I expected to be invited to, and then we give them the silent treatment. I wasn't included in this event, or my husband didn't make sure he did this, and we give them yelling or criticism. My point is that the expectations were not met. Another one is that we despise the differences in each other. I had a couple come into my office the other day and they said, you know what, Father Nick, I just love how my husband, he loves sports. This was premarital counseling. And they were saying, I just love how he just loves to watch football. In about 2 years, that couple is going to come back in my office. Let me just tell you what's going to happen. And she's going to say, I cannot stand that he wants to watch football all day long. You see, what we once loved, what we once idolized, oftentimes later on, we demonize. And can I just encourage you all with this powerful, important principle today? There is an enemy that is seeking to destroy your relationships, not just your relationship with your spouse, where every 13 seconds a divorce takes place in this country. But I want you to know that he's trying to divide everything that you are part of. And I want you to know that this is a powerful principle that we have got to start fighting. We have to start fighting harder to bring unity to our relationships so that the devil is not winning, dividing our relationships. Let me say it in a very simple statement. We are all on the same team. We are all on the same team. Your spouse is not the problem. She's your partner. That friend is not a problem. They are your partner. We're on the same team. I want you to open up your Bibles to the book of Corinthians, probably one of the most famous chapters in all of the Bible when it comes to love and dealing with conflict. We're on page 233. For those of you that are tuning in online, we're looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4. Listen to what it says. Love is patient. How many of you just need to hear that verse one more time? Love is patient. And it is kind. It is not jealous or conceited or prideful. Love is not ill-mannered or selfish or irritable. This doesn't apply to any of you here, but let me just simply read it. It says, love does not keep a record of wrongdoings. None of y'all have that problem. None of y'all keep good records, but just if you do, that verse is for you. Love is not happy with evil, but is happy with the truth. Love never gives up, and its faith, hope, and patience never fail. Like if there's ever, I think, a Bible verse that we need to hear in the month of February as we're closing this out, that maybe all of us need to know that love has to be part of the hallmark as we as Christians. So what do we do about it? In everything that you do, you need to know that it's all about choices. Because one day when we all stand before God, we're going to have to answer to God for the choices we make. So I'm encouraging you with 3 powerful choices today. And here they are, okay? If you want to go to heaven, write these down. I'm just joking, but I just want to kind of give you all a little bit of a laugh. But I do encourage you to listen to these. Here's the first choice. All of us need to choose to act and not react. Several years ago, when Roxanne and I got married, we put together some what we call our pre-fight plan. And that is that Nick and Roxanne, just like every single relationship, is going to have disagreements. In my case, I have to be very careful. She's not here today, so I'll just speak openly. You guys won't tell her, and God, hopefully she's not tuning in. But when you're married to a psychologist, there is something called psychological warfare. And so I learned when not to talk and when to talk. And most of the time it's not talking. But we developed this plan that's a pre-fight plan. And these are some things that we say are the never, never statements that we have. And here they are. We're never calling people names. You never call your spouse, a friend, a sibling names. Never raise your voice. Can I just tell you real quick that interesting study is that if I was to ask you what is the most hurtful thing someone told you, picture it in a moment. It won't take you time. The most hurtful thing that your husband ever told you, you could have it quickly. Or the most hurtful thing that a friend told you, it would come to you quickly. But you may not remember the actual argument itself. Because most of the time what we remember is what people say to us, the hurtful things that cut us like a knife. So never raise your voice. Never keep records. God forgives us when we come to Him and we ask God to forgive us. But one of the things that the enemy loves to do is give you a memory when it benefits him. And so he will allow you to remember, hey, 3 years ago, you remember what you did? You did this and you did that. Constantly lobbing bombs. Don't keep records. Don't live in the past. Never say never and always. You're always this way and you never do this. It undermines the relationships. Never use the D word, divorce. Never in front of your kids. And I could speak hours and hours about this. You need to create a pre-fight plan. Just like the Lord's Prayer says, lead me not in temptation, let me just say a little prophetic statement over you today. You are going to have an argument with someone you love soon. Create a pre-fight plan to know how to deal with it. Because most relationships don't die in the love. They die in the anger, in the resentment. Choose to act, not react. Here's number 2. I want you to choose to be forgiving. Do you know in every single Orthodox church all over the world, the second largest church in the entire world is the Orthodox Church. Almost 400 million followers. Do you know what everyone's doing today? Celebrating Forgiveness Sunday. Like you cannot begin Lent without Forgiveness Sunday. Like they're telling all of us, hey, listen, we're about ready to begin this journey. We've been talking about the publican, the Pharisee, the day of judgment. Okay, that's all great. But right now, if you're going to begin this journey of Great Lent, it starts with forgiveness. And can I just tell you that one of the things that we all need to do is to start letting go of the things that are holding us back within our relationships. You cannot move forward if you keep living in the past. And we need to extend to people what they extend to us. Ruth Bell, who was the wife of the famous Ruth Graham, who was the wife of Billy Graham, she had this extraordinary statement that one of my professors at the seminary shared with us, and I love it. She said that marriage is a unity of two great forgivers. Marriage is the unity of two great forgivers. Just forgive. Stop letting the devil have a foothold in your relationship. And here's number 3. Choose to be humble. So we're choosing to act, not react. We're choosing to forgive and choose to be humble. Last Sunday, I told you 3 words. I said, remember these 3 things. Say it, write it, give it. Say it with me now. Say it, write it, and give it. Now there's some new ones. We're going to practice this again. All right? Listen, understand, validate. Say it with me. Listen, understand, validate. Online. Listen. Good job. Listen, understand, validate. We need to start listening. For you as couples, and actually in all relationships, the first 120 seconds of a conversation that has conflict will determine the rest of the conversation. Like some of you are wasting so much time because the 120 seconds is filled with so much conflict that you're not listening to each other. Listening means I'm hearing what that person is saying. Understand. In other words, I want you to make sure that you know exactly what your spouse or what a friend is saying. So a great statement to say is, so what you're saying is this. And then validate. You know what? I didn't mean to do that, but I can see how that happened in your life. You listen, you understand, and you validate. Let me just kind of go a little bit off script for a moment. When you get married in the Orthodox Church, listen to me, everyone, this is serious. You are responsible for helping to get your spouse into heaven. The church fathers say that when we are getting married in the church, you are responsible for helping to bring your spouse into heaven. And some of us have forgotten what our role is in that wedding. It's not just to be there and nice and pretty. It's not just to have children. It's not just to make a lot of money. It is to bring that person across the finish line into the kingdom of heaven. And so I ask you, how well are you doing bringing your spouse, bringing a friend, a child, across that finish line into the kingdom of heaven? I'll leave you with this. In the 1920s, there was a man named Elmer, and Elmer was someone that was a great little innovator and an inventor. And he loved cars, and you have to remember that in the 1920s, cars were just kind of coming up. But he was hearing so much about how there were accidents happening where people were running into people from the back. So Elmer developed what we all call today the rear view mirror. And as he was developing this rear view mirror, he was debating how large that rear view mirror should be. Should it be half the size of the windshield? Should it be smaller than the windshield? How big does that mirror need to be? He did all these different studies, and ultimately he came to the perspective that the rear view mirror should only be 1/20th of the size of the front windshield. Only 1/20th of the size. I think for many people today, if you were to hear that, that's a great analogy of how our day should go. We should only live 1/20th of our day looking in the past, and the rest should be looking into the future. We need to stop living in the past and start saying, I want to live here in the present. And so I'm asking you to make some choices. Adjust that mirror. And start today by choosing to act, not react. Have that pre-fight plan. To choose today to be humble, to love, to understand, to listen, understand, and to validate, and to be forgiving, just as God forgave us. We have to start fighting more to save our relationships, for them to stay in unity with one another, than the devil is trying to divide our relationships. Why? Because we are all on the same team. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for downloading this message. I hope that in some small way, this sermon can inspire you, motivate you, and guide you in your walk of faith. I'm a firm believer, friends, in what I like to call practical Christianity. Basically trying my best to give you some steps and some tips that you can follow to apply this sermon in your everyday walk of faith. And so if you have found this sermon beneficial, do me a favor. Not only do I want you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you get access to all of our sermons, but I also want you to share them with your family and your friends. Let's go out and make a difference in this world, and hopefully this sermon can be one way that we do just that. I also want you to stay in touch with us all throughout the week on our social media platforms. Friends, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook and Twitter, all under the headings of The Lows. And this past year, Roxanne and I started sending out these daily inspirational messages. And if you would like to receive those messages, go to our website at thelows.com/subscribe. And all you have to do is simply put up your email address, and every day at 7 a.m., you'll receive one of our daily words of encouragement. And finally, friends, if I can ever be of assistance to you, do me a favor. You can stay in touch with me by going and emailing me at fathernicholas@thelows.com. That's fathernicholas@thelows.com. Once again, everyone, thanks so much for downloading this message. God bless you, and stay strong in your walk of faith.